you have a good nap? Have any dreams? My last recording was really bad because the sound wasn't very good at all. I'm not sure what the reason is why that's not working out quite right. It's probably not the best recording equipment. When I went to pick out our scents for this time, 2 of these fell out. Nang choppa. Guess that's what we need to burn. I don't want to burn. They're kind of old. Like me. I'm old. Once upon a time, people told stories. And I don't know what humans are like anymore because I have not had a regular, normal, functioning family. So in my dysfunctional way, I'm going to try to correct the kinds of conversations I'm having with you, my life advice. Just the same kind of things I've tried to tell my kids. It takes more than just listening to it, though. You have to grow into wisdom if you want to. Alright. What story are we going to tell? Where did we leave off? I don't call you very much. I don't get called very much. And most of the time the conversation is, I'm fine. I went somewhere, I did that. Everything's fine. I don't get told the truth either. And that's why a lot of the things that I say here now are one-sided and also never discussed with your own, because they don't want to hear it anymore. They don't want to hear it because every single thing I end up with is you got to do it for yourself. You got to parent yourself. You got to take care of yourself. You got to regulate yourself. Okay, you got this. This life is your road, and the mind you inhabit is your vehicle, and you are the operator. Do it. I also got to thinking about how by the time I'm done telling the bad stories as best that I can, or to the best of my ability trying to admit my own faults, because I have plenty, that to you listening, or to your uncle listening, maybe your mother, maybe even Grandpa, could listen to the story being told to you for what it was, very simply. Every single bad thing could have been avoided by honesty, communication, cooperation. every single trauma and tragedy that happens between your family members, not everybody's family members, our family members, okay, have all got to do with inconsideration, with bitterness and resentment built up around inconsideration toward one another, inconsideration toward our expectations, or no joining, no commitment, no moving forward with anything discussed. One of the biggest things else is that we were never allowed to sit around the table and discuss things out as a family, as humans. This never happened. We never gave our children a voice, an inclusion in our affairs. And I don't know why. I sure know that I wanted more of that. I wanted to be able to discuss with my children moral lessons, teach them to objectively right and wrong, but we didn't seem to concern ourselves with right and wrong like I wanted to. We concerned ourselves with baths and homeworks. I guess watching TV, we didn't. We had good parents and kids times, but we didn't have a single thing times that we can do when it comes to using our brains and solving problems and figuring out solutions. Figuring out understanding each other, figuring out how to support each other, how to help each other move forward. Ask you for your idea. How can I help you study? Maybe try this, Mom. How many jokes do we have going back and forth? Not all that many. It's like a big portion of vibrant personality just didn't get expressed. Because we watched TV all the time, because we were depressed all the time, because we were preaching at the kids all the time. I spent a lot of time taking naps. Hey, but at some point, I stopped yelling at the kids for waking me up in my naps, and I taught them how to let me sleep. I said, come wake me up in an hour so we can clean the house. They kept quiet. Not that we cleaned the house every time, because every time I got up from my nap, I had to have my coffee. And I got my coffee. I don't know where we went wrong, but I know that bitterness crept in and stayed strong inside of us. So there we were as a baby, and the people didn't like the way I shoved for food, and the people didn't seem to like the way my house looked either. So there was trouble from his company, from the army company, because they came to the house, and our house wasn't very clean. That's when I started to become a shame and an embarrassment to your grandpa. That's when it took a hold. I think we did okay with the house and with our relating to each other. And then we got housing in another city, we got army housing then after that. And apartment living was very, where I lived before, I could get out of the house and walk around. And it was big, and I could be private and alone. I was alone with my baby. I wrote a book. And, anywho, so we moved to the Army apartments. I think we had somebody come around. I had a problem, a large problem, with yelling. I was a yeller. I wasn't nice. So I couldn't keep the house clean. But I also couldn't keep myself from screaming at my own baby. Drop her. I didn't drop her, but I'd let her know that she was going to her crib. I spent a lot of time not being able to understand what a child needs. And I spent a lot of time beating myself up over my bad behavior of yelling at her. All she wanted was whatever she wanted, you know? Attention, food, hurt. Maybe she was hurt. All I knew was the clock says it's supposed to be bedtime, now leave me alone and be asleep. Well, that's a very selfish mom. I'm a very selfish grandmom. I am a selfish person. My selfishness is I want to spend my time the way I want to spend my time. Well, much more stresses and struggles came. I didn't have a car. Like our car, the engine blew up. I'm sure so many things ate on Grandpa's insides of things that I could not conform to. Then when the car died out, I guess somehow, for some reason, it started getting thrown around. Yeah, that maybe I should go back home. So, me and your mom got on a flight and went back to the United States. And your mom was a wreck on the plane. She was rotten. She was always rotten on planes. There was one time when she was 2, I went to take a trip to DC, and the plane broke down and had to be repaired before we could take off. And she bawled her ever-loving head off for 2 fucking hours before the flight on the plane. Then when we went to Neuschwanstein Castle, she just was in such a bad temper, didn't want to be there. That she whined and threw a hissy fit, so much to the goddamn point that your granddaddy took her down to the gift center to hold her and try to entertain her while I went on the tour. So, I guess your mom's had it out for your granddaddy for a long time. But you know, your granddad I met, he tells the story of Athena throwing her hissy fit, bashing her head up against him, throwing a fit like you wouldn't believe. Like it was a good memory. Is it possible for parents to be traumatized by their children? Inquiring minds want to know. But then kids throw fits. I have no idea what she was throwing such a consistent fit over. She couldn't even be entertained, and she was far too young to be bored. Oh, I wonder what was going on in her mind. Well, the day me and my scream-fitty little baby girl came into Pittsburgh Airport, and my mom was there to pick us up, and we've been on the plane for 14 hours. Your mom was crabby. I was exhausted. But since we were in the area, it's late at night, since we were in the area, let's just swing by Grandma's house. Other Grandma, your great-great-great-great. And swing by Grandma's house and get a picture. Get a picture. Great-grandmother, grandmother, me and you. Or not you. Your mother. Let's get that generation little picture. We did, and your mother didn't even stop crying for the picture. Got us back home to my mother's house, where it, in short order, I found it's confusing how this exactly happened, but as soon as I was back in her house, I wanted to find a way to not be in her house, so I looked for a place to live. I got this apartment, like a duplex, so I got a little place just a couple blocks down from my mother's house. I didn't have a car. I was saving for a car, but my mother said, "Hey, I want this particular car. I'll sell it to you, so you won't." Anyway, I ended up giving her $500 some odd for this car instead of paying rent to live at her house. I don't know what it was. It was a scam. She scammed me. I bought a car, and she said, "Oh, that car is too good for you. Too much of a car." It was a Chevy Lumina. First damn car I bought after I got my license, which I just got. "Oh, you don't have enough experience for that car." So she took it. And instead of paying me exact money, she didn't charge me rent. She helped me toward the next car I bought, which was a Ford Escort. Now, that being the case, I remember doing a lot of road running in that Ford Escort, which would have to imply that your mother was with me doing the road running. I can't remember how the story went. Was my daughter with me when I traveled up and down Shakora Road in that Escort? Or was my mom watching her? Grandma's going to have to sit back and think about this, how this all worked out. But in the meantime, your grandfather had gone to Hungary. I think he did little stuff in Bosnia. And wait, there's timeline. My timeline is good, but some of my incidences are, because there was a couple times that I went back home, so I'm trying to keep my story straight. The truth of the matter is, Let's not be negative. Some people like people's life stories. Some people like them delivered in a more proper format. Well, honey, by the time you watch these, I'll be dead, so sorry. It's what you get. Alright. She took the Chevy, and also within a couple months, I wasn't in that house anymore. It was a little house that I enjoyed being there. I felt independent and good. But I think maybe I got kicked out. I think maybe I got kicked out because of my yelling at my daughter problem. I was not a hitter. I don't think I called names at that time. It was just more exasperation. Why won't you do what I want? Will you please be quiet? It was more frustration than it was. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to misdirect. I didn't know how to pay attention to a child. I didn't know how to enjoy them all the time. I'm ashamed because it seems so natural now. And it wasn't always ugly. We had good times. I enjoyed things with her. Took her to the farm show. Did things. We did things. At any rate, I went from that little apartment after I got the escort and moved across town from my mom. And I know that your mother also spent time in West Virginia with her grandparents. So it may be possible that some of those times I remember running the back roads in that escort could have been those days and weekends when she was there in West Virginia. But I know that escort died because the second time I was in town, I had a Ford Taurus. West Virginia had your mom because the law had intervened. Because somebody caused us problems. These problems are about to begin. They're part of this time frame. And they lived on Center Avenue. Now, your granddad was over hungry. And he sent me I had all of his money. And I just lived on it. I mean, I thought I was alright, paying the budget, doing the bills. But I was selfish with the money. I didn't care for him, and he struggled for his own entertainment. He struggled for having enough money to anything, to get shaving cream and things of this nature. Struggled. Or maybe he didn't remember how much resentment he had while he was struggling, because when he called me he was fine. But you know what else? I was a terrible wife when he called me. I had no consideration that he was in the desert and hot. I was not empathetic to his suffering. Instead, when he called me and I was napping, I'd want to get off the phone quickly, or I'd be angry at him that he called me. I was a very rotten person. So selfish. Yeah, he loved me and he stayed and he loved. But by now it was really digging in, wasn't it? Confusion on his part. Feeling scorned. And then he'd hear things. Because my friend wanted to fucking meddle, conspire against me, talk behind my back, and tell me the details of what he thinks I was living. Well, that friend spoke the wrong word. I didn't always walk around with lots of money in my pocket. That wasn't even possible. But I did have oftentimes more than I needed for the thing that we were doing. I don't remember. I don't remember it like I was bad. I just remember it like I was young and entirely self-absorbed. Without the empathy that seems like your grandpa was a far better spouse than I was. Maybe I deserve my divorce. But he buried it. He buried his feeling on. Every day he tried to look at it new, I guess. So, after a while, he was done over there, and he come to collect us up. Time to collect us up and move to Georgia, because that was his next duty station. So, your mom was always an independent thinker. She was just like you are. An independent thinker, independent little woman. And smart. She could figure things out. So one day, in our kitchen, I had the kitchen window open, and the road was right in front of our house, and there was a roof right outside our kitchen window. Had the kitchen window open, and she was playing with her binky and somehow dropped it out the window, and she saw it roll off the front roof. I think I was in the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom. I can't see her. I don't know where she's at. She was just there in the kitchen, you know. And I run and frantically, I looked upstairs first, and then I looked at her room, and then I started going downstairs. And she was coming back up the stairs, okay, because right out our front step there, okay, was stairs, and those stairs led directly to the foyer where the door outside was. So I saw her coming back up the stairs, minding her own business, fiddling with her binky, trying to get it back in her mouth, wipe it off, put it back in her mouth. So she saw it fall over the roof. She knew she can go right out the front door, because the roof was above the door to the front of the house. And she walked outside, got her binky, and was on her way back in. I tell you, it's kind of impressive. It impressed me for so long I told it as wonderful life trauma story, which was probably a spectacular testimony of not taking good care of her, depending on who you are or how real you expect a human to be. But so Granddad came back from Germany to collect us up. We had got the house packed, and we're staying the last couple nights at my mother's house, and so I had wisdom teeth troubles. I was having pain in my face, so I took some medicine. So I got a prescription for some pain medicine. I took the pain medicine and I went to bed. I went to bed hard. I didn't wake up until trouble was happening. And your granddad was, apparently, from his side of the story, he was up with your mother and then put her back down, and then he went to clean himself up, go to the bathroom, to be in the tub. But I don't know what happened. I know my mother left for work and the door wasn't closed, and that my daughter found her way outside to wander around our neighborhood. And the neighborhood was also exactly right in front of a major highway, or not highway, but a major main road. And apparently she walked down the hill a bit, and the landlord saw her, may or may not have known who the child belonged to, but the police had my child. At first we drove to the wrong barracks. It was the in-town cops, not the cops right up the hill from us. Then we went down to the cops. It's our child. And then of course, they questions. Why wasn't nobody watching? How did this happen? Blah blah blah. He said, our situation is we're transitioning. We're transitioning from a home on our way down to Georgia from Pennsylvania. This was the last couple of days that we were in the area. New environment to the baby. The baby had been sleeping in her own room on Center Avenue for the last amount of time. But at any rate, everybody let us go. They promised to forward a DSS report to Stewart. So they did. And that's when our troubles began. That's when our lives started to become hell. And the resentment started to grow. No time for us to get a divorce then. It's just when it started to grow. Terrible. That's when we started escaping from each other. The DSS in Haines, Georgia has a particular joy messing with military families. Very easy to control, easy to steal children from. And if you don't think DSS steals children, you haven't been around the world long enough. And they only steal the children in good homes. They never steal the children that are really being abused. Our home had some neglect, sure. But my kids never had any bruises. Wasn't dirty, wasn't scraggly. Sure now, I like my naps, and I thought my daughter took lots of naps. I like my internet. Internet was brand new, I just discovered it. So I developed what very many parents of the 90s, mid to late 90s, got: internet chat room addictions. Oh, we couldn't be away from that internet because something exciting might happen. And I won't get to play pretend that I'm having fun. A lot of neglect occurred because I was escaping into that. Neglect occurred so I was escaping into that, not only with my daughter when it was brand new, but also with my son while I was going through my spiritual seeking years when he was a baby. And I would spend hours in another room. Can't miss the exciting thing happening. Getting excitement, getting validation. People were laughing at my jokes. People were happy to see me when I logged in. Unlike real life, where nobody was happy. So it's easy to do. That time, Grandpa was a truck driver and was gone for weeks and weeks. Oh wait, I skipped over to the next baby and we're still on the first baby. I'm still on the first baby. Second baby, he was a truck driver and he was gone for days and a whole week. That kind of thing. A lot of separation in our family. Made it easy to get into bad habits. Granted, my habits weren't running around town. My habits weren't sneaking and buying things. The only thing I bought extra was we ate out a lot. And I have my issues. Again, things that could have been normal. So at any rate, when DSS decided to show up in our life down there in Georgia, I swear to you, my house didn't even have enough time to get that damn dirty. We just moved in. But I feel like DSS is trained to just see a dirty house no matter what they look at. They said I had rust stains in my toilet. Well, they didn't call it rust stains. That's what it was. We had hard water from a well, and this causes staining. It was dirty, though. They misconstrue anything. The time they came and took your mother and your son away from us again. Later on, when we bought the house in Coolersderry Road. Oh, why? Why? I have no fucking idea. I really don't know. I don't know why they drove up into our yard that day. We just moved into the house. I had no bad friends at that time. Just moved in. He was spraying off the side of the house and the back porch, making pretty and playing with the kids outside. I was in the house sweeping and organizing and making pretty all the things we had. We didn't have bookshelves. This house was big. We didn't have anything, no real furniture. We didn't have bookshelves. So I took and I organized all the books and I lined them up and I put them on the floor, lining the wall. And that was an issue for DSS. My son was 4. My daughter was 9. Nobody's crawling anymore. A trip hazard. People don't walk that close to the wall. When your door's there, what are you going to do about the book here? You don't trip over that. Shoot. Oh, And they put in their report that my child was dirty and wet. Just so happens to be that as they were pulling up, just before, whatever, just at the same time frame, it's summertime and he played hose with the kids. And this activity was interrupted by them pulling up. When did I have a chance to wash and bathe the kids after playing in the water with their dad? Oh, that's right. These accusations are not about logic. They're about appearances. They're about control. They're about making you look like the unstable one. Magic. Humans, I hate them. I hate them. If they want to find a way to get you in trouble, they'll make up ridiculous things that are obviously not true. But nobody can see that. Oh, Grandma's ranting again. Grandma's ranting again about people. So, well, this made me depressed and sad and frustrated because now I had to make sure that my baby acted right. And the house was clean and I couldn't focus on that. One time I remember getting in trouble. I was cleaning the house. Not that a house has much to do besides vacuuming and dishes, but my house was clean. I didn't have nothing else to do, and I didn't feel like being on the internet. So I said, let me start a project. So I took out the dolls I had. I had some Art Mark dolls. Art Mark dolls are Bradley dolls. And I wanted to repair their dresses and clean them up. So that's what I did. I had all the things out to do that. Sewing kit, the doll, the this, the that, the third. I'm working in my little area of the living room. And my daughter was in her bedroom. She was taking a nap when they decided to come visit. So they see me with all this stuff around me because I'm working on something. And they write into their report that the house was dirty. I had a little mental breakdown with that lady, and I said, how could you be calling me a bad mom? I'm not calling you a bad mother. Do you think you're a bad mother? You're treating me like one. Oh, there's that emotional logic that they put on my report as being unstable. Unstable? You don't think that I understand that all you want to do is steal my child away from me? There's nothing more unstable about that. I mean, nothing unstable about that understanding. Why haven't you closed the case yet? What am I doing wrong? I don't care. I don't know. I just know that I wasn't able to cope properly with the interference. I know that I was under so much stress that I actually did snap. I actually did. And then I seeked some help. I got punished for seeking help. My daughter was begging for my attention. I was too engrossed in what I was doing on the internet, and she was begging for my attention. I didn't want to deal with her. I kept pushing her away, kept telling her, shut up, pushing her away, shut up, go away. She was crying and screaming, getting more demanding. I had some cold coffee and I splashed it on her. She stopped with crying and the whining, but I was appalled by my own action. I hated myself for the way I treated her. I didn't know what to do with it. That was my moment of realizing that I needed help with my parenting and my anger control. I had enough sense to know she didn't deserve that. That was wrong. It was way wrong. And so I went for help. Then they demanded that I put her in daycare so that I didn't have to be around her, when that wasn't the issue, my being around her. Then, when the day she'd missed an appointment, they had us busy running around with the doctor's appointments constantly. Appointments here, appointments there. Now, at some point, her grandmother, came down and spent some time with us. And the grandmother kept the house clean, kept the situation from, I didn't lose my temper. I couldn't lose my temper if I wasn't overstressed. So maybe they asked the grandmother to come down. So she did. She spent time with us. And everything was looking good, I suppose. And then as soon as they left, there was a day that I didn't get my daughter into school that day. Or I did. I missed a doctor's appointment, and then the next day when she was in her school, they snatched her. DSS snatched her because I missed a doctor's appointment. And the mother-in-law had testimony against me. And here was the testimony. Athena, my daughter, your mom, had gotten a fever. She'd gotten a fever, and at first I didn't want to just run her to the doctor. I wanted to give her a cool bath, aspirin, let's see if it'll break. And it didn't break, and my little daughter ended up kind of being dehydrated. And I knew she was dehydrated when she said, "Mom, I don't feel good," and she projectile vomited at me. I said, "Okay, that's it, we're going. We're gone. It's up, get in the car, let's go." So we did. And while there, the doctors were trying to get her to drink and sip some Pedialyte and stuff. And my daughter was asleep for a little while during this time, and then she woke up and she didn't want the Pedialyte, but she was interested in my soda. So I had a Sprite, and I thought, well, maybe a little sip of that wouldn't hurt, because I took a taste of the Pedialyte to find out if it was, tasty. How did it taste? Because she rejected it. She wouldn't swallow any of it. So I said, well, maybe a sip of my soda, and she took it, and she wanted that. I don't think I starved her or gave it to her. I don't know what the hell happened, but all I know is in the courtroom I had to hear about that. I also had to hear about me going out and having a cigarette while my child was sleeping. Those were held against me. Why the fuck would those have to be held against? What the fuck world do I have to live in? Who lives in this world where I'm supposed to be sitting there? Wake up, baby. Wake up, baby. My life stops until you wake up, baby. Let's be realistic. The child's sleeping, the child will be groggy. Any time within a few minutes is acceptable. I don't know. I'm heartless. Or I'm not supposed to have a life. I'm not supposed to... Anyway, God help us all. Okay, our time is almost up. So like I said, that I had to hear in the courtroom. And there was that day when We drove away from your mother, DSS. We left you at the office so that the grandparents could take you up in their car, take you back to West Virginia. You, not you, your mother. And it wasn't very long. Oh, besides that, they snatched the baby when they knew that your dad was going to be in Army Sergeant School, like leadership school training. That's when they decided to come along and snatch the baby. And I think he had to go back to school the day that they took the baby. How's that? You don't even get a chance to mourn your child. I also left him because I had no baby anymore. And my mom convinced me that him and his mom were just trying to get me cut out of their life and take the baby from me. My mom convinced me of this. So I left him. Obviously, I went back to him. More later.